that's much greater than him. And those forces themselves would be the very same gods that we was taught and would learn to trust in with all our lives.
Well, if you seem to have this split between, people are always trying to talk about, you have your white magic and your black magic, that type of thing, and you went toward that a little bit earlier. But what I mean is, so why does it have to be dark? You know what I mean? I mean, in this world, in this time, why, if you're going to be practicing your magic, why does it have to be dark? Or why is there a need for it to be dark? Why do we need to understand that?
What we're dealing with here is people categorizing things. And then the categorization becoming even more distorted. You see what I'm saying? People labeling things. And then that itself, after time goes on, would get to be misunderstood. You see. So, what used to be bleach, water, you see what I'm saying? Fire, air, you see. Paper, steel, polarities, and different degrees of science will later on become logical things like wicked and that type of evil. Categorize that. So we're talking about something that is highly scientific and really has nothing to do with moralism and anything personal, but just understanding the nature of the way the earth works. Nature itself is a series of changes. Some of these changes very violent. See what I'm saying? And the misunderstanding when you categorize things, and later on people would misunderstand things, is the same scenario I'm getting ready to give you. If someone or some woman giving birth to a child,
right,
violent birth to a child, muscles is ripping, blood is spewing, she's hollering, pain is all around you. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Which is a necessary and a common function in just nature itself. And someone coming in and taking the experience of childbirth, mythologizing it into something negative and evil. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I do.
It's no different than the standard human, which is the stock human, the standard human, the prototype human, which was black people around the earth. Later on, our own physical features would be recategorized as ugly. No difference. We can look at a pattern of our history and see that our own very lives as a people that are the teachers of humanity looked upon as not even being human, looked upon as not even being competent. You see what I'm saying? Looked upon as not even being adequate. Get where I'm coming from here?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same particular concept when it comes to this wide body of knowledge. Someone coming in, you see what I'm saying? And seeing pimples break out of a teenager's face based on hormones that's going through puberty. And they're looking and saying, That is evil and wicked. Whenever you see those pimples and that acne on teenagers' face. And we know we have a whole group of people, because we're just talking about basically ignorance. The ancient Egyptians and ancient Kemites said that evil is ignorant.
Yep. Yep.
Ignorance is evil. And we know we've had history of Europeans that's being ignorant of things and judging people because of it. They hung, maligned, killed, plundered all over the world things that they didn't understand. They labeled as evil, abnormal, unusual, all because of ignorance. You know what I'm saying? All because of ignorance.
Right.
You see. So it's easy if we can see aspect after aspect and example of our regular lives, how things can be misunderstood over a course of time and ignorance. That when it comes to magic or a greater level of science, you see what I'm saying? That not only would be misconstrued based on ignorance, but also a conspiracy to hide the truth and to keep the higher knowledge away from the masses and from certain groups that lost it. And those groups are now, which is us black people, unpopular with the society. You see what I'm saying? That holds those groups captive. And as subjects.
Right.
You get it?
Right. Got that.
Got that.
So, as a result, the first thing we got to start with was in the aspect of removing the ultimate fear. If we're not dealing with religion anymore, then we must ask this question. Then what the hell is Satan? And why the object or the adversary of religion, since we're not dealing with religion anymore, then what is the origin of this? You see what I'm saying? And one of the first clues was when I heard Charles Finch, Dr. Charles Finch say, before I even studied it in General Massey and did my own research, it just a light came on in my head. He said that the Hyksos are a group of Egyptians were Set worshippers.
Yep. Yep.
But I said, wait a minute, hold on. Number one, because the Afrocentric movement was saying that Set was the devil.
Right.
See, here's the first mistake. They're taking modern mindset, terminologies, you see what I'm saying, and methods of research and thought, and trying to understand ancient thought and mindset. And you cannot understand the ancient model with the modern model. You can understand more of the modern model by researching your ancient past, but you can definitely not understand the ancient model from the modern model. So the Afrocentric movement approached this thing the wrong way. They saw Horus and Set, or Osiris and Set, and automatically assumed that Set Typhon was the devil and all that goes with him. You see. So the first thing happened was, because I had been taught a few years that Set Typhon was the devil of Set, and we learned to look at him as the devil, and then we heard, the first thing I heard was the Hyksos were Set worshippers, or there were groups of Egyptians that Set worshippers. And then the light comes on in the head. Well, why would anybody worship Set? That's the first aspect. Then, if the Egyptians or the Kemites were supposed to be more advanced than the people we would ever see again on the earth, then why are they stupid enough to worship Set?
Why would they do it? Right.
Or was Set something totally different than what the modern man is thinking it was? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
What the modern man was thinking it was.
Okay.
And the works of Gerald Massey would be the greater explanation of it. Ancient Egypt, Light of the World, the last books, 1907. Natural Genesis, the middle books, 1888. And the first volume, because all of them are 2 volume sets, volume 1 and volume 2. And the first 2 volumes, Book of the Beginnings, 1881. Which is the very same scholarship that Charles Finch was getting his information from. You see.
Right.
Which explained not a world of good and evil, but a world of politics. One priesthood usurping the other priesthood. In this case, the latter priesthood usurping the earlier priesthood and degrading or systematically leveling their chief god or chief system of philosophy. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay.
Then you find out this is political. Then all of a sudden, and this is the origin of what is evil, we don't have anything older than Set as the primordial devil. Then you will understand that this is a 5,000 year or no later than 3,000 year odyssey that was in fact started long before white folks even got on the planet, or either was even able to even talk. You see what I'm saying? That later on would get out of hand and would be the overriding tool or scope of religion. Good versus evil. Then we gotta ask the question, then what is this evil?
Right.
If it's not the wicked and the moral aspect, what is the scientific aspect of this evil? It simply is the primordial activity and functions of that which existed before creation. Doesn't make it bad. You see what I'm saying? It is that which is prior to creation. You see?
That you meaning that life.
That life, that system.
Well, isn't it kind of ironic that life is part of evil? If you turn it
That's
around.
right. You can go as far as to say that not only is it that before creation, that it was set up a pattern that evil would be that is prior to anything modern. That would be a pattern that would repeat itself throughout history. We can just take Egyptian civilization,
Right.
and just in the dynastic period, we're talking about millions of years after creation. In the dynastic period, they make something evil out of that preceded it,
Now why?
which was the
No,
earlier priesthood.
now why did they do that?
It is an age-old question that haunts man. And the ultimate one is simply ignorance. The misunderstanding of something that might be a little more remote that you can contemplate. And they say over and over again, that which the later generations could not understand, they swept in a trash pile of moralism, of evil and wicked. So the Typhonian Egyptians, which is pre-dynastic Egyptians, become evil to the dynastic Egyptians. Several schools later, a Hebrew sect, which is Egyptians, would label all of Kemetic evil or Egyptian evil. And a Christian sect, which spawns out of a combination of different groups, but of that time and later on labeled Hebrew evil. And a Muslim sect that is a direct derivative of lineage of the Christian and the Hebrew, but later on named Christianity evil. And all modern concepts of what is called religion will later on name all the ancient world evil. So first it started out with priesthood of scientific views, leveling the other aspect because they didn't understand certain practices that had gone on thousands of years before.
Right.
Meanwhile, you must understand this. This is not just a few years in contriving or making this thing happen. This is thousands of years. We're talking about the pre-dynastic aspect would be equivalent to almost maybe 10,000 years compared to the dynastic. It's just that old. So it is natural for them to come on the scene and things deteriorate, or certain mysteries of knowledge or misunderstandings, the knowledge would be lost and misunderstandings would occur, that they would start calling the other ones evil. Or we can go on to say this, that we exacerbated it more by not understanding that even those in the ancient world might have not been talking about the same kind of evil that we're talking about here. Because it is interesting here that all of the pharaohs that we look at, they're always standing between Horus and Set. And if they're standing between Horus and Set, then we ask this particular question. Were these polarities? Or was it wicked? Now, if we take the modern concept of religion, and we would have God and the archangels as we dare not call it a pantheon, because they're supposed to be monotheistic.
Right.
But we know that the archangels used to be the pantheon of the letters.
Right.
We would take these archangels, and they would be in the court of God. God, Jesus, the archangel.
Okay.
And you would call that the heaven realm. By no means would that pantheon ever have Satan among them present. Well, why is it that we can take the same Egyptian pantheon and Set is always present in the lineup of gods?
Yep. Sure is.
Then obviously, we're even looking at this thing from a standpoint of not understanding that they didn't view this same wickedness and these taboos of uncertainties and fear when it came to their deities. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
At least the high priest didn't. Now there might have been some tricks played on the common folk, but which in this particular case the common folk can't never understand that no way. You see. So now we're unraveling these things, and we've gotten beyond the spookism of understanding science at its core. That dark simply means, number one, more powerful, more ancient. You see what I'm saying? And ultimately, the doorway You see what I'm saying? Because obviously, the enemy, both the gods and the adversary on earth, you see, want to keep you away from it.
So then if we understand that, then, so how now are we supposed to apply it against the enemy or to live then?
Well, going deeper into the endeavors of knowledge, you find out even greater mysteries. That there's really no enemy. There's only role-playing and illusions set up by the architects or the gods in heaven that are pulling the strings in the first place. And you ultimately find out that those particular gods in the heavens no longer exist. And in so many words, the only enemy is the ignorance of our own mind.
Wow.
But I mean, that sounds like, I mean, that old, the Zeus shit, where, you know, where the gods were manipulating the lives of the people.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay. But what about, but is now here, what, are the white folks our enemy?
Huh?
White people. I mean,
They are, let's take the movie The Matrix. They know that there was a grand architect. You saw the big white man with the beard. But we know that that architect would be, when you would figure out who he was, he would be the actual person that's responsible for these illusions. But nevertheless, his army was the agents. So one is the extension of the other. In this case, the Europeans are one of the extensions of the demiurge. And although that demiurge and those particular entities of those forces now no longer have the power, and some are even dead, his extension is still permeating the planet. You see what I'm saying? And in this particular case, it is the European. You see what I'm saying? It is the European.
meaning they're the agents.
They're the agents. And not only they're the agents, they set up a system now that make the subjects, which would be the original people caught in this mess, enemies. And not only did they set up a system, in later life, the human system itself set up by the architect of these gods in the heavens that no longer exist is also a form of the enemy. So humanity itself is the enemy. And that, my friend, is the ultimate riddle on why you would label things dark in the first place. It's a conspiracy for the modern man or the modern adversary to keep you out of something, is to tell you that it is wicked. And it is a conspiracy in the aspect of the greater scheme of things of the people who set up this earth, is to always keep man himself away from the mysteries that those gods, a set of gods, would also be evil. And the earth itself, existence itself, can also be evil. I know I'm going way ahead of myself.
No, it ties in though.
But it all ties in.
Yeah.
We just urge people to, sometimes things line up this way because we urge people to never be satisfied with getting everything off of one tape. But we got enough information. I have enough tapes. And there's clearly enough books out here to understand the greater aspect of what I'm trying to put forth.
Okay.
What I'm trying to put forth.
Okay. Well, just one other thing I want you to clear up.
Yeah.
Though. So when you say the architect, does that So what? Somebody started this shit and then they just poofed. You know what I mean? And then this spirit left, affected these white people in such a way that they decided they wanted.
Well, I think that's kind of premature. We have to go all the way back to the beginning of this, prior to the earth aspect, because this didn't start with the world that we know. This started in the heavens. This started in the origin. It started in the primordial abyss.
Okay.
Or the womb.
Okay, I understand.
Where you would actually have a renegade or a tyrant that would be a tyrant of a universal primordial family, breaking away and trying to create a universe of its own outside of the original source. Botches the job, but nevertheless creates a simulation of the original source, which can only be acted out as a series of illusions to support this debauchery. And the ultimate deterioration of misfortune is that the very essence or light particles or souls that is in the primordial world or the original source will eventually get trapped in this cosmic abortion that was set up by this tyrant, and would have to be a part of this tyrannical creation for years to eventually clean this shit up.
Okay.
That would make the original source greater than the original source was, that would have a flaw in it to even create a tyrant that would break away from the original source. And it would never fall again. So in so many words, we're only talking about creation sifting out flaws of its own
self,
essence, to make a greater and perfected product.
Gotcha.
Now,
so many words from the beginning.
Yeah.
There was no perfection.
Yes. That's why they call it chaos.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Now, that was the scientific element. The other element was you had the great mother. She had a son on abortion who didn't stay in long enough to form itself to maturity, that jumps ship, comes down and creates its own childlike world, like a child would do. Right. A child's world is going to be different than an adult's world. The adult's world is going to be more fortified. You see what I'm saying? And more to the essence.
It sounds a little bit like
and the essence. But the child's world is going to be a play world or an illusionary world. Well, whatever this particular person that would later on be called God by the very parents that it would later on trap in this world. It's like a cancer in the original body succumbing to a cancer, though benign in the beginning, malignant in the end. You see?
Yeah, gotcha.
And then set up a series of creations within the context of creation and in the context of a man and woman or life that is started in this counterfeit creation, would set up a series of events and struggles to get back to the original source. The rest is history. You see?
Damn. That's it in a nutshell.
Yes.
That's it in a nutshell.
You made it clear.
Any questions?
Wow. So, with the original set, and I know there's different. You said the pre-dynastic period, then it's the dynastic period. So you saying that in the dynastic period, the Kemites in the dynastic period was basically ignorant.
That's one aspect of it. I do you one better.
Mm-hmm.
One aspect of it is a history of people, the latter, becoming ignorant of the former.
Okay.